Will Campbell had a rough Super Bowl, and many are wanting him out at left tackle. Well, I'm here to tell you that's likely not the best idea. This is Locked On Patriots.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening? I am your host, Nick Cattles, born and raised in New England, been covering the Pats for the past 16 years. Also the co-host of the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast with Nick Cattles, and a sports radio veteran. Welcome to Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. On today's show, Seattle had some wrinkles that surprised the Pats. That and more, all 22 leftovers in the third segment. In the second segment, we review Drake Maye's Super Bowl and how everything changed at the end of the first half. But first, let's discuss the man who is responsible for protecting Drake Maye's blind side. Of course, talking about Will Campbell. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with a bet on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. No sugarcoating. Hopefully you know by now I do not sugarcoat. Will Campbell was bad against the Seahawks. We talked about it in the live post game. I watched the film on Monday morning, and I am here to report to all of you, Will Campbell was bad. However, the 14 pressures number that is being thrown around all over the place. Next Gen Stats came out after the game was over and said that Will Campbell gave up 14 pressures. I am here to tell you that is not true. That is not true. Will Campbell did not give up 14 pressures against the Seahawks. Again, he wasn't good. He was bad. He was awful. Whichever adjective you want to use about his poor play against the Seahawks, use it. I'm just telling you the facts. He didn't give up 14 pressures. The closer to reality number is 7 or 8 pressures. Again, awful, but not 14. Now, we'll get to his future in a couple of minutes, but first, a few things. What have been the problems for Will Campbell, especially over the past several games? First and foremost, we begin with the idea that most of Will Campbell's issues in pass protection have been happening against top and or elite pass rushers in the NFL. Khalil Mack, very difficult. Will Anderson Jr., very difficult. Nick Bonito, very difficult. DeMarcus Lawrence, very difficult. There's a theme here. If you are a top-tier pass rusher, if you are somebody who is seen as an elite pass rusher, you have had some pretty good reps against Will Campbell over the past month or so. So that's the first thing. If Will Campbell's going to lose to you mano a mano, you're most likely an upper-tier pass rusher. Myles Garrett earlier in the season. I digress. Another part of the problem for Campbell is the number of these issues that he has faced in pass protection, many of them have been schemed. When you look at Seattle's pressure package during the Super Bowl, things that they did, some things we'll talk about later on in this very show. Some of those things have bothered Campbell, and not only Campbell, but they've also bothered Jared Wilson, which I would bring up as the next piece to this. Not only is Campbell dealing with being a rookie left tackle, but he's also playing next to another rookie. And we've said this from the very beginning of the year. That is an incredible challenge. To have two rookie offensive linemen on your left side of the line protecting the blind side of your franchise quarterback. So when we're talking about top-tier pass rushers, teams that can scheme some things up, and having two rookies next to each other, that's a lot of the issues that we see Campbell running into. Secondly, something that stands out to me. Campbell is a very emotional guy. On the field, his highs are very high, but his lows could be also very low. Off the field, his highs can be high, but also his lows can be pretty low. And when you look at the fact that Campbell did not speak to the media in the postgame, that is another example of his emotions. He was very emotional after the game, and I get it. It's the biggest game of his life. He's 22 years old. He struggled. He's on national television. He's been dreaming about this moment probably for the last 18 years that he's been on this planet. and he failed. He failed. He knows he failed. Everybody knows that he failed. And that can certainly weigh on somebody. But the fact that even for 60 seconds, he couldn't find the right words or put himself out there to speak to the media, that tells you about his emotional state. Think about the Chargers when the Patriots beat the Chargers in the postgame. Mike Vrabel waiting for Campbell in the tunnel before you get into the locker room. And he's trying to almost force a smile from the left tackle because even though the Patriots won, Campbell is very upset. And again, that can work for you. That can drive you. That can motivate you. That can make you better. But it also can impact you on and off the field. And sometimes we see Campbell let things snowball. In the first quarter, the very first drive of the game, 3rd and 1, shotgun formation. Campbell gives up a pressure. 3 plays later, 1st and 10, shotgun formation. Campbell gives up a sack. 2 plays after that, 3rd and 9, shotgun formation. Devin Witherspoon blitzes. Both Campbell and Jared Wilson give up a pressure. So we're talking about 3 of Campbell's 7 or 8 pressures in the game were on the first drive. Within like 6 or 7 snaps, he let it snowball. And so my question is, can he learn to stop the bleeding? You would hope that comes with maturity. But there are lots of guys who know much more about offensive line play than I do defending Campbell after the Super Bowl. Mitchell Schwartz posted, I think Will Campbell is just late. His hands are late, so he's catching, but his feet are moving too and not set. He's getting 0 power and no ability to stop power moves. There's a lot of bad Will Campbell talk analysis going on right now. And he says, I'll put a video out later, but short arms and vertical sets are getting a bad rap when neither is the issue. It's Campbell's punch timing plus 1 extra technique adjustment. TJ Lang, another former offensive lineman, he posted, Campbell's going to be just fine. Needs to work on body control and exploding out of his stance more. None of his reps versus Seattle would be any different if his fingers were a ½ inch longer. Teron Armstead, longtime tackle in the league. He posted, the issues are fixable. Campbell's trying to block the best players in the world without a solid foundation. His feet are constantly moving backwards before contact on 90% of these reps. Near impossible to anchor against power if your feet are not in the ground. So if you're paying attention to guys that have played in the league for a long time, they're watching Will Campbell and they're saying, yeah, he's obviously losing these reps. He's losing many of these reps. He obviously did not have a good game against Seattle, but ... these issues are fixable. These are technique problems. There's not fundamentally something wrong with how he is built. It is more technique. I'm not saying that. I never played offensive line. I never played in the NFL, but looking at these guys that have been there, Teron Armstead, TJ Lang, Mitchell Schwartz, Willie Anderson also, who we'll get to in a minute. They're telling you that nothing about Will Campbell's performance can't be fixed. And so I would not quit on Campbell. I would not quit on Campbell at left tackle. Not yet. And I've said this from the very beginning, from when they drafted Campbell. If he can be an average to slightly above average left tackle, then that is a win. Now, if you can find a left tackle eventually that is above average or great, then yeah, you can have the conversation. But right now, as you're looking on to this roster and you're looking up and down, I'm not going to quit on him at 22 years old. I expect him to get better. He's only 22. I expect him to continue to adapt to the NFL and learn about these players he's going against and the speed and the strength of these players. I expect with Doug Marrone and Jason Hoteling and Robert Kugler, I expect the offensive line coaching staff to continue to work with Campbell on his technique. Now, if he is a disaster at the end of 2026 or in the first month or two, it just looks wretched, then we could always come back and have this conversation. And I don't have an issue if you're not comfortable with Vidarian Lowe bringing in somebody who is a veteran to have a little bit of a competition, but I'm not quitting on Campbell at left tackle. The fact is, during the regular season, he was above average. in many games. And I would say he landed somewhere between average and above average for a rookie season. The playoffs, not good. But he played a lot of football, and I thought he was certainly a solid tackle. And I'm not moving off of him right now because he just went through his first postseason against a bunch of great pass rushers and didn't look good. Willie Anderson, talking about moving Will Campbell to left guard, for example. Willie Anderson, again, in the league for a long time. His opinion, he posted, you got to give Campbell another year in an offseason. His ability and correct teaching and training will be huge this offseason. He needs to train skills full speed with the guys in front of him. And if you tell me just replace Will Campbell, my question is, who are you going to replace him with? And also, let's not forget that you have other holes that absolutely need to be addressed this offseason. It's not an easy answer here where you just get rid of your left tackle, you throw somebody in, and it works like magic. So I'm going to stand by Will Campbell, give him a full offseason, let him get healthy, let him get back to camp. You want to bring in somebody who's a veteran who can compete a little bit, make sure that he's keeping his feet to the fire? Sure. But I am not quitting on him. I am not quitting on him after his first season, not at 22 years old, not after watching him play average to above average for most of the regular season. And that's what we saw. Drake Maye's night took a turn for the worst right before halftime. Full breakdown next. This is Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The winter games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the winter games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches, I love curling, that start slow and somehow get intense fast. Speed skating races decided by inches, hockey games that feel different right from the opening face-off. Even niche events become must-watch when you're fully locked into the competition. And FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. We're talking about FanDuel. You know about FanDuel. The Winter Games, they are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel. Play your game. All right, so if you're not fond of interruptions, which is most likely many of you, you can try the Everydayer Club. Ad-free episodes of this show, Discord access, and more. Go to lockedonpatriots.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Also, as you watch on YouTube, help us out by clicking that thumbs up button. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. Would you move Will Campbell out of left tackle already? Or do you want to have a little bit more patience like I want to have a little bit more patience with him? Like, comment, and subscribe. We did not hit the 9,000 subscriber goal, but that's okay. We keep on pushing. We got a very busy offseason to cover. I mean, we're a couple of weeks from the combine. We're a month away from free agency. It's going to be a very, very busy offseason. So don't forget to like, comment, and sub. Appreciate you. So I dug into the film on Monday morning, early afternoon. And when we talked about the Super Bowl, we talked about Drake Maye, and I said Drake Maye has to be better than he was against the Chargers, against the Texans, against the Broncos. You can maybe get away with a little bit of the Houston game, a couple of touchdowns he threw, which were really nice throws. If he could come up with some big plays, that'd be nice. But he has to be better. He has to be better, especially than he was against Denver. You're not going to be able to survive with really no passing game. The fact is, Drake Maye was not better. He was worse in a number of different ways. And, I think that as I mentioned this in the post game, the live post game we did after the Super Bowl, it felt in real time that Drake Maye was impacted by the offensive line play early on in this game, right? Like the pass protection wasn't there. And after a few drives, it started to seep in to the quarterback's brain. And honestly, looking back and watching this game over again, I thought Drake Maye was okay. He wasn't great, but I thought he was okay before the final drive of the first half. that's when bad habits started to creep in. You had a really nice play on a 3rd and 7. Great job getting out of tough field position. The Patriots starting the drive on their own 2-yard line. Again, final drive of the first half. 3rd and 7 conversion of Pop Douglas. You start feeling good. Maybe they can get some points up on the board. At that point, you're still in this football game. You're smack dab in the middle of the football. You don't have much of a problem looking at this and saying, oh, there's no way they can win this game. So you get that 3rd and 7 conversion. And then 2nd and 7, under center, play action, bootleg play. You remember this probably because the Patriots did not call a lot of bootlegs against the Seahawks. Moving to his right, and Boye Mafe has a pressure on Maye, but Maye has the flat. He's got the flat to Austin Hooper, and Chris Collinsworth said it, and he was right. He's got the throw to Austin Hooper, especially late, but he's more in flight mode, and he just throws the football away. If he hits Hooper, you might extend it. You might move the chains. 3rd and 7, shotgun formation, and you have split. So you got 2 guys, 1 guy on each side. False start on Campbell. So now you're looking at a 3rd and 12. You get back into shotgun formation. Nick Eamon-Warry blitzes, and Maye takes a deep shot to Matt Collins. It's an incomplete pass down the right sideline. He actually has Kayshon Boutte open. He's got him open deep downfield a little bit on an in route, and he decides to throw it to Matt Collins. Meanwhile, I'll tell you, Matt Collins actually beats Josh Jobe on that play, and Maye just misses him. So a couple of plays at the end of the first half, I thought, started this to really decline in Maye's play and what we saw, especially in the 3rd quarter. The 3rd quarter was rough, man. The 3rd quarter was rough. I thought Maye struggled with his decision-making at times. I thought he was inaccurate. I thought there was some clear miscommunication between he and his receivers on a couple of throws. And there was one play we'll talk about where, he kind of just drifts up into the pocket. We saw that at North Carolina. You haven't seen a ton of it this year, but he kind of drifts up into the pocket and creates his own pressure and causes a bigger issue. So a few of the plays, 3rd quarter, the first drive, right out of the locker room, 1st and 10, shotgun, play action. He's got Pop Douglas against Nick Eamon-Warry. Incomplete. Now, this play is where, again, you've got Maye in the shotgun, little play action, and Pop kind of runs somewhat of a wheel route against Nick Eamon-Warry. And the play is never there. Douglas is never open. He's never open. But we talked about this last week, getting prepared for the Seattle defense and what the Patriots could do to attack that defense. And one of the things that I mentioned was getting vertical routes and then having guys underneath those vertical routes to go along with some trips. And Josh McDaniels did have plays 3-by-1 with trip receivers to the right, to the left. He did do that, and there were times when those plays were open. But this play, first play out of the locker room, 3rd quarter, you've got it dialed up. Douglas versus Eamon-Warry. But underneath that is Rhamondre Stevenson in the flat. And Rhamondre Stevenson is wide open. There's nobody within 10 yards of Rhamondre Stevenson. But Maye throws it to Douglas. The route is covered. It's an incomplete pass. If Maye makes the simple read and the simple throw to Stevenson, Stevenson gets, I don't know how many yards, 10, 15, maybe 20, maybe more. The play was there. Maye missed it. 3rd quarter, 2nd drive. So right after that first drive, 2nd drive in the 3rd quarter, 3rd and 2, shotgun formation. Maye misses Pop Douglas. Pop Douglas is open. He had him. He missed him. And what you saw was a little bit of happy feet in the pocket. He's tap dancing a little bit, and he misses Pop. By the way, on that same play, he also had Stephon Diggs down the left sideline deep. Diggs has his hand up because Diggs actually beats Devin Witherspoon, and Maye doesn't make that throw. He throws it to Pop, which is fine because it was the safer throw. Pop was more open, but he misses Pop. 3rd drive, 3rd quarter. Told you, 3rd quarter was rough. 1st and 10, shotgun formation, trips to the left. Drake Maye takes a sack. This is the play where Stephon Diggs springs free late. You might have saw it. NBC showed the end zone, right? They showed the end zone replay of this. and you could see Stephon Diggs kind of spring open late. Well, that's the play where Maye drifts up into the pocket for really no reason. There's not a lot of pressure there, but he drifts up into the pocket, and he not only misses Diggs, who's open, but he walks into a sack. Bad play. 3rd and 4. Shotgun. Again, trips left. He's got Kayshon Boutte open. Misses him. You remember that play? He threw it a little too far ahead of Kayshon Boutte. So these were the types of plays that Maye missed. There were plays to be had. There were opportunities out there. In between the offensive line crumbling early and Maye late second quarter and through the third quarter, some of his issues creeping back in, the Patriots could not take advantage of it. And we've said this from the beginning with Drake throughout the year. You know, his highs, the back-to-back throws to Mac Hollins in the fourth quarter that ends up, in a touchdown drive. Extremely difficult throws. The highs are really high, but they have to outweigh the lows, the misses, the turnovers. My buddy Greg Bedard, he wrote, Drake Maye committed 5 turnovers under pressure, including 3 strip sacks and 2 interceptions in the playoffs after committing just 6 such turnovers during the regular season. Can you have more highs than the lows? And how low are the lows? Now, what would help, because it's not all on Drake, not all on Drake Maye, your offensive tackles have to block consistently. Having some run game also helps you so you're not one-dimensional. And having a true alpha number 1 wide receiver, which we've talked about all year long, as good as Stephon Diggs has been, he is not your true alpha number 1. Those things would help. But it was a rough third quarter, and it began to get rough at the end of the first half. And I think all of the early O-line pass protection issues no doubt impacted Drake Maye. Seattle's defensive wrinkle, the battle of explosives, and more film takeaways next. This is Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every single deduction. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. We talked about explosive plays early last week getting ready for the Super Bowl. And we talked about how each of these two offenses were very dependent on explosive plays. And the fact is, Seattle owned the explosive plays in the Super Bowl, especially early on. But just some examples for you, and there were more. I'll just give you some examples. The first quarter, their first drive. 1st and 10, under center, play action from Sam Darnold, hits Cooper Kupp against Marcus Jones. You remember this play. It was near the sidelines. There was some question of whether or not it was a catch. Said it was a catch. Chunk play. Explosive. Second quarter, 4th drive for the Seahawks offense. And by the way, of course, that first drive for the Seahawks ended up at a field goal. 4th drive, the next time they scored, kicking their second field goal, you had 2 explosives. You had those 2 huge runs from Kenneth Walker. 2nd and 10, gun formation. Kenneth Walker bounces it out. You don't contain the edge. 30 yards later. 2nd and 10, under center. Another big run, 29 yards. On this play, Kyrie's Tonga, Corey Durden got blown off the line of scrimmage. So you had 2 huge plays for Kenneth Walker. Seahawks get a field goal out of it. Right after halftime, the Seahawks actually string together 4 of 5 plays in the first drive of the second half for Seattle, 10 yards or more. You had some coverage issues. You had a couple of missed tackles. So the Seahawks hit these explosives. The Patriots were not as consistent with their explosive plays. And when they had explosive plays, a lot of them, kind of like Seattle was okay with, You look at the 2nd and 20, for example, first drive for the Patriots. This is after Will Campbell gives up a sack. It's 2nd and 20, shotgun formation. Drake Maye scrambles for 11 yards. Seattle's going to live with that because now you're stuck at 3rd and 9. Second drive, first quarter. You had the 6 offensive linemen, which, by the way, only 1 snap, 6 offensive linemen. We'll talk about that later on. But 1st and 10, 6 offensive linemen, under center, play action. Drake Maye extends the play. He moves up. He hits Kayshon Boutte for 21 yards. After that play, the second drive of the game in the first quarter, the Patriots did not have a single explosive play until you get to the fourth quarter. Just not enough explosives for an offense that was so dependent on those types of plays. Seattle got them. You didn't. Seattle threw some wrinkles at the Patriots' offensive line, and Patriots weren't ready for it. And the Patriots did not respond great. I'll give you one example. Devin Witherspoon, he had not blitzed in a long time. I think it was Andrew Callahan said he hadn't blitzed since week 16. He blitzed 5 or 6 times in this game, and the Patriots were completely not ready for it, completely stunned by it. And Devin Witherspoon's blitzing caused some chaos for the Patriots offensive line and for the Patriots offense. That was just one wrinkle among a few others. Rhamondre Stevenson, talked about it live in the postgame. Real time, it felt like he didn't have many touches at all. And I looked it up during the live postgame. He had 7 carries. So 7 carries. When you really break this down, it frustrates me. It infuriates me. Rhamondre Stevenson did not have a single touch in the second half until the second fourth quarter drive. The second drive of the fourth quarter. You went the entire third quarter and a drive in the fourth quarter without getting Stevenson the football. He's been your best offensive player, most consistent guy over the past month and a half, 2 months. It is just inexcusable to me that he did not get a single touch in the second half until the second drive of the fourth quarter. Something else that's interesting, the Patriots only had one single solitary snap with 6 offensive linemen. It was the chunk play. It was the 21-yard gain to Kayshon Boutte. They never went back to it. And we talked about this idea of trying to run with 6 offensive linemen, trying to make Seattle adjust and get out of the nickel and the dime. And then if you can play 6 O-linemen, then maybe you throw out of that. Josh McDaniels didn't even really try it. And to me, it looked like the Patriots walked into this game. It really felt like watching this over again. They had no confidence in their run game. They almost didn't want to run the football. They hardly ever ran twice in a row. We talked about that in live postgame. You get 3 yards on a first down, and then you just bail from the run and throw and get yourself in trouble. Again, Stevenson had 7 carries the entire game. Just gave you the second half lack of touches. They didn't play 6 offensive linemen. Played it for 1 snap. I don't get it. I thought they would be committed to the run. They would at least try. If you're getting 3 or 4 yards, that's a win against that defense. I mentioned this earlier, but the Patriots, Josh McDaniels did try the trips formations with the 3 receivers on one side of the line of scrimmage, whether that was on the right or the left. He did try some clear out routes, and those things actually worked multiple times, but unfortunately, they just couldn't execute it. Whether it was the offensive line giving up quick pressure or it was Drake Maye not making the throw, making the wrong read, those plays were there. There were some opportunities. Defensively, Milton Williams, I thought was really good. Of course, he missed a couple of shots at Sam Darnold. He did have a missed tackle in the backfield of Kenneth Walker, but Milton Williams consistently was disrupting this Seattle offensive line. I thought Christian Barmore was good. I thought the second half, the defensive line was really good. They did a much better job on the edges containing the run, and I thought that D-line played really well in the second half. You look at Craig Woodson, I said it in real time. I'll say it again after the rewatch. He was terrific. Christian Gonzalez was also really, really good. But you walk away from this game and you just say, man, the defense was good enough. The offense, early offensive line problems, Maye's late second quarter into the third quarter, and they were really just like one play short on multiple drives. We're talking about, if 2 or 3 plays went differently, this game might have been a completely different story, and it would have been tighter. I mean, the first drive, you're moving the football. You're in Seattle territory. Will Campbell gives up a sack. You're stuck at 2nd and 20. The drive's over. Then you've got another drive. I think it was the second drive. And, you run Travion Henderson. And Jared Wilson blows his block, just misses his block. 4-yard loss. You're staring at a 2nd and 14. Drive pretty much dead. Next drive or 2 drives later, whichever it was, you've got Hunter Henry open in the slot. Drake Maye throws it high and behind him. I know some people said Henry dropped it. He's got to catch it. I rewatched that thing. That's a very tough catch for Hunter Henry. Not a good throw. It's high. It's behind him. And he's got to torque his body in a weird way. Very difficult. So you have these different plays where it just killed momentum. Jared Wilson giving up a sack just killed momentum. If you could have just executed Drake Maye missing Pop Douglas, Drake Maye missing Kayshon Boutte, Maye not throwing to Rhamondre Stevenson underneath the pop route to start the third quarter. Lack of execution. It was frustrating to watch. So frustrating. All right, that wraps up this edition of Locked On Patriots. Thank you for making us your first listen, for being an everydayer. Reach out to me on Twitter at NickCRadio. Don't forget to throw a comment in on the YouTube channel. Hit the like button and subscribe. And if you're looking for a gift for someone, make it easy. Check out the Everydayer Club, ad-free episodes, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through LockedOnPatriots.supercast.com. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.